everybody. So this week in Module 5, we talk about all things are not equal college access and support for students of color. Again, normal disclaimer, I apologize if you hear my dogs in the background or anything like that. I live in chaos. And so um, for this, we are the vice president of enrollment management, and we're dealing with a sticky situation. Kind of like, obviously in the past weeks we've had issues. So, currently, what we're dealing with is um, number one, the Board of Trustees argued, underprepared students were the cause of low graduation rates. Well, I would have liked to seen data to back that up, and I think that's gonna, become very evident in my discussion here over the next like 10 to 15 minutes because more often than not, I have the concept of we've got to stop saying we need students to be college ready. We need to be a student ready college, okay? The fact that their developmental education program has been removed is number one, insane, because many students have a deficit in one or multiple areas. Myself, in fact, I had to take developmental math. I mean, I'm literally in a doctoral cohort and, graduated with a 3.4 GPA in my undergrad and a 4.0 in my master's. So I was a little bit like genuinely offended reading through this. And obviously this entire situation is just a nightmare. So we get to play cleanup, and we get to quote unquote deal with the students. And the president doesn't really seem to have our back. The president's more concerned with how things look, face value wise, as opposed to serving the needs of the community and our students as a whole. So we have been asked to create a committee. And with this committee, we are planning to increase student diversity, maintaining academic admission standards, all of these grandiose things. And, the president's hoping that our plan will calm the students. So, who do we want on this committee? For me, I think that's pretty easy. More students, less administration. Obviously, we need the buy-in from students and stakeholders that, have the college and students' best interests at heart, not with the press, not the press of all of it. I think the student leaders that are voicing concerns obviously need to be on there. I think as the enrollment management and maybe the dean of students, but those are the only real administrators. I think it's really important to have those boots on the ground employees that work in admissions, that work in all of these departments, saying like, hey, they did this without. Again, I want to know data. I want to know numbers, and then tenured faculty with valued experience. Now, it has been known that staff and faculty always kind of have headbutt things, but as Dr. Sasso has said, every staff member should teach a class and every faculty member should walk a day in our shoes as staff, because we really can learn a lot from each other and understand the importance of each other's jobs. But I am one to say that having tenured faculty with valued experience, because there was that faculty member that made a point prior to, at the very beginning of this, that their students are still not college ready, even though, they've gotten rid of developmental ed and required certain, scores. They're saying none of that has made a difference. I'm still have students that should not be in my class and they need developmental ed even though they've met those other standards. So basically having that historical and institutional knowledge with those faculty and staff that have been there for such a long time, I think is going to be vital in determining how the president is addressed and what's going to be recommended. I mean, obviously how I respond to the students is, hey, I'm doing everything I can. Why don't you come be a part of this committee? This is what we're doing. And I think the biggest thing with students is like don't patronize them. Don't act like you're holier than thou. Um, Treat them like a peer, um, and that'll go a long way. Um, but um, I think personally, what needs to be the recommendation. Um, Obviously, I think the revise the admissions policy. We need to examine historical enrollment data, determine success and retention rates at prior admissions, and we've got to focus on the inclusion of the community and its needs because again, they're not serving the community clearly, and there should be an understanding of that, and that should be one of the top priorities. So I mean, if what this faculty member is saying is true, is that students still aren't college ready, um, even with those requirements, then we need to go back and analyze and look and potentially, recommend that, hey, statistically, this doesn't make sense. We really should be um, focusing on what is best. And if that means, we got to go back to this particular kind of um, non rigorous um, thing, non rigorous policy and procedure, then that's fine. But also, again, this is always a recommendation, especially in cases like this where we're talking about working with students that, or working with a school that is, having diversity issues. We got to focus on inclusion. Okay, we've got to create initiatives on campus with students and other stakeholders. We've got to work with our students, use their voices so that we can help empower them to create that inclusive environment that will then in turn draw students in. Because again, it goes back to if you build it, they will come. And I think that is the most important aspect of all of this. It's just, again, it is mind boggling that the Board of Trustees would just decide that developmental ed was unnecessary and that the academic rigor wasn't there, and that it's those low test scores and things that are bringing down graduate. My mind is boggled by that. I'm sure it does happen. It's just not something I've ever heard of. But you again, you by eliminating developmental ed, you are really kind of screwing yourself over as an institution, because there are so many amazing students that just did not do well on the test that one day. And again, this goes back to why I hate standardized testing, because it's not a good, measure of your intelligence or your capabilities. It's a snapshot of one day where, you could have been going through a breakup as, an 18-year-old, and you could have, lost a family member, or just, God forbid, something stupid happened. Like, it's not fair to make those test scores your entire life. Again, I go back to me. I am a horrible test taker. And I had to take developmental courses. If this was a situation, where would I be right now? Because I'd like to think I'm, fairly intelligent, like decent human. So, there's got to be so many other students that's why they're seeing such an issue right now. This inclusion, they're lacking inclusion, and they just are making it even worse by having this asinine admissions rigor in their in further enrollment. So I really think that those are some of the best recommendations that I can give, and I really hope that Metropolitan College, figures it out, figures their life out.